often when we drive around town or commute from one part of the city to another, there's always the possibility of finding indiscriminate disposal of waste. When it's not an empty bottle of water or soda thrown off a moving car, it is the aggregate of these bottles swept into the drains. Readily, the results are devastating to the environment, manifesting flooding and all of that. Our focus isn't waste, as it were, but how much harm we've brought to our ecosystem. More importantly, on this week's episode of Community Reports are some Nigerians who, through what they do, express their displeasure over the manner we attend to the environment. Thanks for joining us. I'm Olu Phillips. Over 7 billion people have been reported to be living on Earth, spread across continents and sea. This number have been viewed differently for different purposes. As the world's population continues to grow, so does the amount of garbage, for instance, that people produce. The concept of a global village also means that activity in one region can as well impact a remote location in another part of the world. Lifestyles have become fast-paced as it has become universal. And one way to look at the impact is the consumption patterns of packed products, disposables, soda can, plastic bag, and footprints that affect the atmosphere. Already, this lifestyle is generating lots of discussions because of the increasing amount of population of plastics around the world. In many countries like Nigeria, plastic bags of various size and shape are a major cause of blocked drains, especially in the city centers. As a global challenge being tackled aggressively in some countries, estimates for plastic dump is put at 80% of all population in the ocean. 8 million tons of plastic ends up in the ocean, endangering wildlife. Fish eats plastic and we eat fish. Interestingly, plastic are increasingly useful materials, but it's almost made from very toxic compounds capable of causing illness. The composition of plastic means they are not biodegradable. Waste management has become a big deal, a constant talking point because of the possibility that it portends. At best, before now, waste were usually burnt. But as environmental concern increased, options are opening and other young Nigerians are finding ways of circumventing generating waste.
Since 2013, when I was in school, I discovered that some of us are just so careless about, littering waste around the environment. So what the idea that now came in, I said, okay, what can we do to ensure that this pure water nylon, is used for something it can benefit the corporate society and also the low-income earners. So we have to bridge a gap in that regard. So I now came with the idea of trying to transform the environmental nuisance into a useful product.
Necessity has clearly become the bedrock of these innovations being pursued by some Nigerians who frown greatly at the way and manner many of us abuse the environment. Stanley Aneto is a committed artist and an entrepreneur who is greatly displeasured with the way we treat our environment, especially generating and disposing of waste. If we can at least take care of the tons and tons of waste generated and the improper way we manage it, we can at least cut back on attitudes that lead to generating tons of waste. This thinking is what Stanley has brought to bear in his form of art. For him, papers and other materials in art contribute to waste generation, so he devised a way of still drawing without generating more waste, thereby saving the environment. When he's at his craft, nothing distracts him.
trying to create a sketch that will guide my art, my line, my light work. You know, because when I start translating this thing with light, because I've just sketched with my reflective marker. Ultimately, I'm going to transfer this into light painting or light drawing. So, and light is not something that is constant, that you can see, okay, this is how I want it to go. So first, what I want to do is, or what I usually do is that I make a sketch with a reflective pen to guide me, to guide my motion as I move my light source around the drawing to create my image ultimately.
A beautiful piece captured through the lens of a camera. A picture of the Earth's transition from being green and healthy to the state that we find it. Usually, to make a painting using an oil or acrylic on canvas should take a couple of hours to some days depending on the size, with some considerable waste. But this type of art is done in just a few minutes and there's no waste.
I had to be very honest with myself. I mean, if I still create waste, I know I create waste at home, you know, but if there's a way to reduce my carbon footprint, you know, I think I've scored a point. And I don't see this being less creative than using my oil on canvas. This is still creativity, you know. So if I'm able to create an option, let people think. You know, you have to think outside the box, because where we are right now, we need to think ourselves out of climate change, think ourselves out of global warming. We went in there without our heads. Right now, it's important that all of us engage here. Okay, whatever you do, you have to think, how do I get this better? You know, if you're still putting a lot of demand on nature, a lot of demand on the environment, you have to think twice. You have to think otherwise. You have to create ways, you know, to release or relieve your load on environment.